morning, everybody. It is Monday morning, and we are at Spencer and Kuehn Fine Jewelry Studio, and I am Katherine Spencer, here to talk to you about jewelry. This morning, I was going to talk to you all about how we do repairs at Spencer and Kuehn. And so tune in when you get a chance, because we're going to go over, how we do it and when we do it and why we do it and all of those good things. So that should be cool. And we'll talk about it and we'll figure it out. I need to angle this down a tiny bit. Okay. So that I don't have too much reflection. Or I'll just make faces at you all for a little while. I could just make faces. That'd be fun too. This is our handy dandy sizing book and repair book. Look at how big this thing is. It's very thick. Yeah, but it shows us the prices for repairing everything. Yeah, so today at Spencer and Kuehn Fine Jewelry Studio, we're going to talk about repairs. More specifically, we're going to talk about sizing, how to size your rings. Just move this over here. I think that that's a little better. Okay, I'm still getting some light. We're going to talk about repairs, more specifically sizing rings. We're just going to wait for a few more people to tune in and check out what we're doing here today. We've got lots of rings that need to change their size, and so we're going to be working on that. Hello out there to Facebook. This is Katherine at Spencer and Kuehn Fine Jewelry Studio. Check us out at spencerandkuehn.com for more information about our repair services. Hi out there to Instagram. Thanks for watching and following us on Instagram. It's Katherine Spencer at Spencer and Kuehn Fine Jewelry Studio. And hello to Twitter at Spencer and Kuehn Fine Jewelry Studio. This is Katherine, and we're talking about repairs and more specifically how we do ring sizings. And hello out there to Kick. This is Katherine Spencer at Spencer and Kuehn Fine Jewelry Studio, and we're talking about repairs and ring sizings. So we're going to take a look at that today and see what we can do. We've got all sorts of different rings that need to be resized, and I'm going to show you how we do it. That's the plan for today. So today is Monday. We're getting back into the grind after a nice weekend, and we're going to check out how to do all of these repairs that we do here at Spencer and Kuehn. This is Katherine Spencer. Today we're going to be talking about ring sizing, and we're talking about repairs. So we'll get going with that in just a minute. We'll take a look at a few different ways to do that. Hi everybody, it's Katherine Spencer at Spencer and Kuehn Fine Jewelry Studio in Morgantown, West Virginia. Visit us at spencerandkuehn.com for more information about today's topic, which is going to be repairs and more specifically sizing your rings. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how we size rings and why. Obviously, there are the reasons that they don't fit you anymore, but there are some other things that go into sizing rings that maybe people don't think about. And so I wanted to talk about those too. So the first thing I just wanted to make everybody aware of is how we do our pricing when it comes to sizing rings, because we will get messages on the website or people calling and say, "Hi, I have a ring and I need it to be sized. How much does that cost?" Well, it costs lots of different prices based on lots of different things. And that is why it's important to come in whenever you have a question about sizing so that we can make sure to answer all of those questions and get you sized in the right way. So this is a book that we use, okay, and it is called Geller's Blue Book to Jewelry Repair and Design. And Geller, Mr. Geller, goes into all the different ways to price every single different sort of repair that can be done in general. So in general, we've got ring sizing, okay, which is just moving the size of the ring up or down. There is replacing the shank of the ring, which replacing the shank of the ring has to do with this part of the ring. That's called the shank, okay? And so sometimes you need to resize it, but sometimes you actually need to replace it, okay? So an example of something that might need to be replaced is this one. Okay, so this ring, maybe, yes, okay, it needs to be sized, but if you're going to wear it every day, we would actually need to replace the shank or the part of the ring that connects the top from one side to the other. And the other thing that sometimes you need to do with sizing is size it. Good morning, Carla. Is size the ring so that it fits better and doesn't spin around on your finger. And that is called using sizing beads, okay? Or you can call them lots of different things, but a sizing aid. And what that does is it just takes up a little extra room on the inside of your finger so that your ring doesn't spin around. So this type of sizing can be very helpful for rings that maybe they're very top heavy and very skinny. So this ring, for example, it has a very large ruby up on top, okay, and then it has a very skinny band. And because you have those a skinny band with a very large top, in general, this ring will tend to want to rotate around your finger. Okay, and this is a common problem for a lot of people, whether this is an everyday ring or an engagement ring. And so what we would do is, you can kind of see this over here. I'll put it over here. You can kind of see that. It's a little hard to see. Maybe I can put it up with the other one. These are little sizing beads that are inside of the ring. Okay, and they help that when you put the ring on, they fit over the knuckle, but they kind of sit on the inside back of your finger and make this ring more stable facing up. Okay, so that's for the everyday wear. And then the last type with a sizing aid is something that helps with an arthritic knuckle. So someday in the future, I am probably going to have arthritis because I use my hands all the time. Although my mom doesn't have arthritis, so maybe it runs in the family and I won't get that and I'll be fine. I don't know, but I do have a very big difference between the back of my finger here and my knuckle. Like there's just a large difference. Now people with arthritis, they have an even bigger difference. So their knuckle might be a size 8 and the back of their finger, it might be a size 5.5. Okay. So at that point, we might add a sizing aid that would help with arthritis, where it expands down to fit over the knuckle and then closes back down for a smaller finger size. It's pretty cool. So those are the different ways that we can size rings. Sizing up and down, adding something to make the ring fit a little better, or just replacing the entire shank, which is the bottom part of the ring, so that you can actually wear it every day without the risk of the bottom of the ring breaking. Okay, so I was talking about Geller and the pricing, and this is just a small selection of how he says to price how to do all of these things. These are all of the pages. There's so many pages. And Geller explains everything in here about how to price all of the different ways to size the rings. And there's still more. Wait, there's more. Wait for it. There's more. There's a lot. Okay, so when you guys ask, when you say, oh, how much is it to size my ring? Well, let's be specific. So this ring, okay, this is one that we were looking at earlier. This is a ruby ring, and it is in yellow gold. Okay, so I'm going to take a look in my book, and I am going to look for a couple things. Now, because this is a ruby, I can actually use my torch when I'm sizing it because the ruby can take the heat. Okay, last week we were talking about stones that you could safely put into your cleaning solution, and I talked about red, white, and blue stones. Okay, so you have let me grab this other one. You have your diamonds. Okay, those can go in the cleaner, and those can also withstand heat with the torch. Okay, a blue sapphire, and I know this is pretty dark, but blue sapphire, and then your red ruby, red, white, and blue. And so these three stones can actually also withstand the heat from my torch when I go to size them. So it's pretty cool. I don't have to really worry too much about, sizing at the bottom of the ring here where we would size and how that heat is going to affect my ruby or my sapphire or my diamond. Moissanites can actually also take the heat of a torch. But other than that, you have to use something to help absorb the heat or take the heat away from the stone so that the stone doesn't break or crack or, sometimes if you have like a emerald that has been filled, if you put heat on it, it can kind of remove all of that filling and create these white little lines across the gemstone. So these are the three that I can use my torch in. So let's say I'm sizing this yellow gold ruby ring. I can use a torch and I'll look in my book and say, okay, there's only one stone. So I've got 0 to 4 stones, and let's say that I'm going to make it smaller. Okay, so I check the size first. I put it on my ring stick, and this ring is measuring at a size 9. Okay, but maybe the customer wants it at a size 8. Okay, so sizing down and 0 to 4 stones, because I've just got 1 stone and I can solder. So I've got my category for torch. And so that ring sizing is going to cost $50. Okay, and you're probably wondering, why does it even cost $50? Well, I'll tell you, it took a long time to go to school, learn all of the skills, and these tools are not cheap. They didn't pay for themselves. And so it covers the expertise of being able to do it, but then it also covers the cost of the solder. So when we solder, we use whatever type of metal is here in a solder. So let me check and see. I've got 10 karat. So I've got 10 karat yellow. So I have, let's see here. I've got 14 karat solder, 10 karat solder, 18 karat, 22 karat, and I've got yellow gold, and I've got white gold, and I've got rose gold. So in my little bin here, I would have to find 10 karat, and it's yellow. So I'd want to find yellow. And because it is the bottom of a ring shank, I want to make sure that that is nice and sturdy and stable, something that stays if I'm going to solder something else. So I would want to use a hard solder, meaning that the temperature of the solder is very high. It's a high temp solder. It's not as high as the melting point of the ring, but it is high enough that if I were doing other solders, like let's say I wanted to re-solder a prong, like if I had to reattach a prong, I'm not going to do that with hard solder while it's right next to the ruby. But in this case, with the ring shank, I'm going to use 10 karat yellow hard solder. Okay, and all of these are labeled. You can kind of see it there. It's got a cryptic marking on there that says 10 karat yellow hard. Okay, so that's what I would use to size that ring. Okay, so let's say I'm sizing that ring, and like I said, I want to size it down. And let's say that the customer wants to go from a size 9, because that's what I said it was, right? Size 9. And I want to go down to a size 8. So I have this. Okay, so this tool, it is a mark a size tool. It goes anywhere from a quarter size all the way up to 3 sizes. Okay. Now, of course, you can always add those together. If you need to do 3 1/4, you can do 3 1/4 by marking 3 and then marking a quarter. Okay. So I am going to take this, and then on the bottom of my ring shank here, I'm going to mark 1 size. Okay. So I'm going to come over to my bench pin over here, and I think you guys can still see me on my bench pin here. It's not very close up, but you can kind of see, and I'm going to make a nice hard mark on my ring, and maybe you can see this here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Maybe you can see it. I'll bring it over here too. No, you can't really see it, but it is 1 size. So I used this width that says 1, and that's how I know that it will go down 1 size. So I started at a size 9. We'll check it one more time just to measure twice and cut once. Okay, so I've got a size 9, and I marked 1 size down with my mark a size ring tool. Okay, and then the next step is going to be cutting that piece out. Okay. Oh, good morning, Katie. Nice to see you. All right, so I've marked my size on there. I'm going to be taking out 1 size, and I'm going to be using my saw frame with my teeny tiny saw blade. Can you hear that? Can you hear it? It's nice and tight. It sounds like a harp. All right, so I'm going to cut that sizing out, and I have a ring holder right here on my bench, and I'll look for my little marks that I've made, and I can cut that out. I'm going to cut I'm going to cut right on the inside of my marks to make sure that I don't take out too much. And then I use my pliers to carefully bend the ring into place so that my seam will line up nice and tight. And I want those two sides to be perfectly matched up, because the better they're matched up, the better everything will go. So I put those two sides together, okay, and it looks like it's all together now. Okay, and that's a nice seam. That means that the seam is nice and tight. I don't have to worry about gaps. Okay, and solder, the way that solder works, it needs a nice, tight, clean seam to be able to work. All right, so my next step is I'm going to set my ring up above my solder pad here. Okay, and I am going to make sure that my solder seam stays clean with this flux. Okay, and it's a mixture of a couple different chemicals. There's borax in there, and just other things to kind of keep the metal clean while I'm soldering. Okay, so I'm going to put that on first. Okay, and then, oh, I already got my solder. I put it out here for myself. Okay, and so like I said, it's a 10 karat yellow solder, so I'm going to make sure that that matches my ring, which it does, and I'm going to cut myself just a little piece and put that next to my ring on my solder pad. Sometimes I cut myself an extra piece just to make sure that if one flies away, because these are teeny tiny itsy bitsy pieces, that I have an extra one in the middle of soldering. All right, torch time. Do I light it over here? Oh, let's get that. There we go. Okay, so we're going to use a nice pointed flame here. Okay, and it's kind of cool. So there's like a little blue tip, which you can't really see on the camera because, you know, it's not a total high def camera. We want a nice tight little flame to be able to solder for a ring. And I'm going to be using a solder pick that is made out of tungsten. And so that will make sure that my solder sticks to my tungsten, but doesn't like actually melt all the way onto it. Okay, so I'm going to start by getting my solder onto my solder pick and just pick it up. And then I'm going to heat the ring back and forth. And I'm going to watch my flux kind of bubble up. Back and forth, trying to evenly heat the metal on both sides. Okay, and I placed my solder down, and that's it, it flowed. But I'm gonna flip the ring over to make sure that the inside also looks good. And it does. It looks like it flowed inside and out and all the way to the edges. Okay, this is super hot, so don't touch it. I know you all want to, but don't touch it. Even if I hand it to you. Yeah, I'll hand it to you. Here, take the ring. I'm just kidding, it's hot. Don't touch it. Don't touch the ring, it's hot. Okay, so because it has the ruby in it, I can solder, but I don't want to quench my ring right away because that very well may crack the stone. It's like an extreme temperature change. I don't know if anyone has ever, say, cracked a glass. I know Charlotte did this morning. Cracked a glass because of an extreme temperature change. Maybe the glass was super cold. I don't know why it'd be super cold. Like maybe the glass is kept in the freezer. I don't know. and then you put super hot coffee into it and it goes, pew! I don't know. Charlotte, what did happen? Do we know? She took it out of the cabinet and the coffee was hot and it made the glass explode all over her floor. Isn't that awful? She hasn't had coffee yet. Anyway, okay, so the ring is hot. Is it still hot? Can I touch it? Oh, I can touch it. Okay. So we're not too hot. I can touch it. And at this point, I can show you that these two pieces are now connected and they're good to go. Okay, and we show a couple examples of this on our website over at spencerandkuehn.com. Some examples of some of the repairs that we do. I want to touch it. Oh, Katie says she wants to bring you some coffee. She made some. She did make some when she came in because we do store coffee here at Spencer and Kuehn, not only for us, but just in case you all need it when you come and see us, we do have coffee. Anyway, so now my ring is together. So I'm going to check my size. Okay. And push it down on my ring stick. And what I usually do is size the rings a tiny bit small. Okay. I size them a tiny bit small because after I size it, I am going to slightly hammer up the bottom of the ring to work harden the metal. Okay, and this is kind of important because if your metal is very soft, it's going to bend when you're wearing it. Now, the thinner the ring is, the more it's going to bend anyway. But if I work harden the metal with the hammer, okay, I'm going to hit all of those gold molecules back into place, and it's going to help strengthen the bottom of the ring and make it not as likely to bend and break. Okay, so it just took a little tapping, but that ring was at 7 3/4, and I just gave it a couple light taps just in the place where I did the sizing, because that's mainly the place where I was heating it up, just to strengthen the metal back up. Okay, and now I am at a size 8. Okay, and that should fit just fine if you need a size 8. So there's a bunch of other cleanup that goes into this after we're done using the torch. You know, we go through and we file up all of the metal to make it all smooth and consistent and look perfect again. I know you can't really see on here, but now I've got some hammer marks, and then I've got my solder seam, and you can see the solder and all the stuff. Okay. But we do make sure that things are actually finished after we're done. So, we do go through and make sure to file the sides and remove the solder and file the top to make it all smooth again. And we go through a whole filing and sanding procedure to make it all perfect and lovely. And if you're out there and you are not in Morgantown and you have another jeweler who you take your repairs, you should make sure that they also do these things, because believe it or not, there are some people out there who size the ring and then they don't blend things back in so that they look normal again. I don't know why. I'm assuming they're just rushing. Not Russian, but rushing. Yeah, I'm sorry. Bad joke. Blame my father. He did that to me. The bad jokes. Okay, so I'm filed. I can sand it, make it all pretty. Okay. I'll take a little bit longer to do that because I want to be able to show you some of the other types of sizing that we do. Oh, I think I lost me up here. Get me back. There we go. Okay, we're back. We're back, but we're rotated. Yeah. Of course we did that. We don't want to do that. Did we do it? Did we fix it? Good enough. Okay. So that's a relatively easy one. We can use a torch and we can size the ring and it's not a big deal. Okay, same thing with your sapphire ring. But let's say that for this one, okay, this sapphire ring, we'll take a look. We've got a sapphire that is bezel set in the center, and then we have little diamonds that are on the sides. There's little bitty baby diamonds on the sides, itty bitty ones. Hi, Judy. Okay, so sapphire in the middle, and then we've got diamonds on the sides. And let's say that this person needed to go up in size, okay? So first things, I'm gonna check my size. And I have a size 7 3/4, okay? But this person wants to go up to the 9, okay? So I've got to check my book. Ooh, I got my book, okay. It's so heavy, but I got it. And I'm going to go back to the sizing section, and I know that I can use my torch, because it is a sapphire, and sapphires can take the heat. So I'm going to go to my torch section, but I'm going up in size to a size 9. And I also have, let me count my diamonds. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 diamonds, and I have the sapphire center. Now, part of sizing these rings also includes tightening all of your stones. So after I size this ring up, okay, those stones might loosen up. The center might loosen up. The side diamonds might get loose. And so part of the sizing also includes going through and making sure that all of those diamonds and that the center sapphire is tight. Okay, so I'm gonna, and it's yellow gold. So I'm going to go yellow gold, and I've got 5 to 20 stones, and I am going up 1 1/4 sizes. Okay, so I have 112 for the first size, and then I'm going up an additional quarter size, and so I'm going to add $29 extra for that extra size. Now that extra size, that $29 is accounting for the amount of gold that is needed to go up that extra size. The $112, that covers the solder, and it also covers all of the labor to retighten and check all of the stones that are in the ring. Okay, so I've got 112 plus 29, and I'm not going to do that math. I'm not. Should I do the math? No, not. You can do the math. Okay. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to size it up, and by sizing it up, there are 2 ways to do it. One is not a great way for a ring like this, and one is the correct way for a ring like this. So the bottom of this ring, it's not too thin, okay? It's an appropriate amount of metal. I'm going to measure it. Okay, so the thickness, I've got 1 millimeter. That's fine. Okay, that's not that big of a deal. You've got a good thickness at the bottom of the ring. When you start getting thinner than 1 millimeter, that's kind of where you want to think about what I was talking about earlier with reshanking the ring. In other words, changing out the metal on the bottom. But you're a good thickness. Now, if the bottom of this ring was super thick, okay, let's say that, and this isn't even super thick, but you can kind of see the difference in the thicknesses of these 2 metals. Okay, this one is, let's see how thick this one is. This one is 2 millimeters. It's twice the thickness. If the bottom of this ring right here was 2 millimeters, then I could save the person a little bit of money, and I could actually hammer the ring up. Okay, so what I would do is I'd put it onto my ring stick, and just like I was work hardening the other ring, I could hammer this up. Carla can do the math. Okay, we'll call Carla. Thank you, Missy. I appreciate that. I could hammer up the bottom of the ring if this were really thick, but it's not really thick. And so the right way to do this is not to hammer this up. That's wrong. Carla, math. We've got 112 and 29. Go. Go. Carla, go. I'm just kidding. Okay. Anyway, So I'm not going to hammer it up because that would not be okay for this thickness of metal. So the right way to size this up is to actually add a chunk of metal to the bottom of the ring. So I want to find a piece of metal that is an appropriate width and thickness, okay, for the bottom of the ring. And then I'm going to be adding that in. So I've got the bottom of this ring and I've got a piece of metal and I've got a good width. I'm glad I'm making you laugh. I needed a little bit of laughter today. I dropped off my baby, Eleanor, over at school this morning. Oh, she's got it. 141 plus tax. Thanks, Carla. Anyway, I dropped off my baby this morning and she's all upset. I could hear her crying from across the entire building. She was not happy. And so it got me all flustered. But she's fine. She's fine. They sent me pictures. She's all good. So it's okay. All right. So the width of my metal here is I've got 4 millimeters wide. I've got just under 3 millimeters wide. Okay. Oh, that was the other thing that I forgot to tell you on this ring. So this ring, I just measured its thickness. It's just under 3 millimeters. Now in my book, I have different thicknesses for the metal. And okay, so my first chart here, it says under 3 millimeters, less than 3 millimeters. So that's good. Okay, so if I was going up to 3 to 5 millimeters or 5 to 8 millimeters, then that would be a different price, but we can stick with that original pricing at the 141 plus tax. So that, because it's under 3 millimeters. Okay. So to size this up, I'm going to start by splitting the ring just in the very center. Okay. And I'm going to bring it over to my ring stick. Okay, and I'm going to pull it up my ring stick to a size 9. Actually, a little bit past a size 9 because the metal wants to snap back in place because it's work hardened. So I've got to open it up a little bit further than where it needs to go. Okay, so I've got this opened up on my ring stick now, and that is right before a size 9 because if you remember when I was talking earlier, I want to size the ring a tiny bit smaller than where it actually needs to go and then hammer it up to try to work harden the metal. All right, so I've got my piece here and I am going to make this piece a little rounder so that it matches. So what I'm doing is I'm just making it a little round. This is my ring bender. Okay. And I'm just going to check with the circumference. That looks like it's just enough. And in this case, I am going to use my mark a size on the piece of metal. So I wanted to go up a size and a quarter. And so I'm going to find my size and a quarter, and I'm going to mark that on my piece. Okay. Same procedure for all of the rest for sizing up that ring, except I'm going to add that piece to the inside. Okay. I'm not going to go through the rest of all of that soldering with it because I wanted to touch on a couple other things instead of just going back and forth with everything. So we would add that chunk of metal into that opening and solder it in place, hammer the ring so that it work hardened, and do all the finishing and everything else and make sure that it was good to go. The last step would be tightening all of those stones. Okay. So the other thing that I wanted to talk to you today about was sizing rings like this. Okay. You guys may have a ring like this at home that has a piece of turquoise in it. And turquoise cannot withstand the heat of the torch. Okay, it can't do it. It would just break into a million pieces. So there are two ways that we can size this ring besides hammering it up, which yes, we could hammer it up, but people don't always want their rings hammered up. And it also, just makes the bottom of the ring shapes thinner. We can either use our laser welder, okay, or I can still solder, okay? I just have to solder in a little bit of a different way. Now, because this ring shank is a little thick, okay, it's not super thin. I could do this on the laser, but the laser isn't really great for filling up large spaces. You really want to solder this. So to solder it, we're actually going to be using water, and I also use ice. Okay. And so what I have here is I've got a little cup. And it's full of water. Okay. And all I'm going to do for sizing this is I'm just going to cut a seam. Or I don't even really have to show you. But what I would do in this case is I would hold my ring and have the turquoise be underwater. Okay, and oh, that went away again. Let me get that back on. All right. So I would make sure to keep my turquoise underwater so that the stone is completely submerged. Okay.
And there we go.
Did we get that? No. Mm-hmm. My ring into water. And so when I solder this, I can make sure we can just turn that off. That's okay.
It's muted.
So that it protects the stone. All right. So if I were soldering this is kind of cool with the water. So I got to show you this part. So I'm going to turn my torch on again. Okay. And if I were actually doing the soldering on this, okay, I would kind of direct my torch up. And my water is steaming and bubbling. It's kind of fun. But the stone is completely protected. I could stick my finger in this water and I can feel the temperature. And the temperature is fine, which means that the stone is fine. Okay, so I can heat this silver up as much as I want. And I don't have to worry about the stone. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, and again, the water's not boiling. Even if the water were boiling, that's still only, a couple hundred degrees. That's not going to affect anything. Okay. Now, if I go through and the water level starts getting low, then what I do is I keep a cup of ice available so that if the water level starts getting low, I can just take a piece of ice and I can plunk it right into my cup as I go. And so that way I don't have to worry about unsetting a stone. I don't have to worry about laser welder, and I don't have to worry about your stone. So it's kind of cool. And if I take this ring out, same thing. I can touch the bottom of the ring here immediately. Now this part is probably hot, so I'll just make sure that's cool. But yeah, the stone is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And you can see that everything looks great. Okay. And my solder seam, there's this black line that's right on there. Okay. And again, that's fine. So I've got solder seam, stone is fine, and everything worked out great. Okay. So that way we can still size your ring without having to worry about taking your stone out or damaging your stone. Okay. Well, let's see here. Did anyone have any questions about how we size rings or what we do with them? Because I can always answer your questions if you're here. But I think that was pretty much what I wanted to show you guys today, just in terms of at the bench. But I did want to touch on those other topics that I did at the beginning, just that there are loads of different ways to resize rings, there's multiple different ways to resize them, but there's a lot that goes into the pricing of how we size the rings. And so the width of the metal, the type of the metal, whether it needs rhodium plating or not, if it's white gold, whether we need to remove stones or leave them in, whether something can be soldered with a torch or whether it has to be done on the laser. The fact that there are sizing aids, right? I talked about sizing beads to help prevent spinning. Okay, so those are get that in the right spot. Sizing beads to prevent spinning, and sizing aids like this, where they are good for arthritis. Okay, so sizing beads and sizing aids. Again, talking about ruby, sapphire, diamond. Those are the types that you can stick into your cleaner at home without worry. And those are also the types that we can use a torch with. And so we can easily size those. And the fact that whenever you bring in rings that have multiple stones, that part of our sizing includes tightening all of those stones and making sure that everything is secure after we take the size and either increase it, right? If we stretch this ring way open, or if we make the ring smaller, we want to make sure that we check and tighten those stones. So there's loads more information at spencerandkuehn.com. So you're welcome to go and check that out. Otherwise, you are welcome to call over the phone, send us an email, or come see either Carla or Charlotte or me or John, and we can help you figure out the right way to size your ring and make sure that it is safe for you to wear. All right. Well, that is what I have for you today. I hope that was helpful and interesting. And next week, we are going to take a look at, I don't know, maybe chain repair, maybe bales and chains. I don't know, but we're going to do repairs again. Okay, we're going to talk about some of the different things that we can do with repairs. Oh, wait, John is next week. Okay, and so we'll see. I'm not sure what he's talking about. It'll be a mystery. Ooh, a mystery. Anyway, tune in next week to see what John has to say, because I'm sure he will be talking about something that is interesting. And if it's not interesting, it will be funny at the very least, because John's funny. He just is. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. And don't forget also spencerandkuehn.com. Not only that, but we also still have permanent jewelry appointments available, just a few. We don't have very many left during the week. We always fill up very quickly. So he is funny. He is. So if you are looking for permanent jewelry, give us a call to schedule your appointment because we do kind of fill up quickly during the week. If you want to learn more about our permanent jewelry, check us out, spencerandkuehn.com, on our permanent jewelry page, because we are also offering booking for your private events. So let's say you're getting married in a few months and you want to make your wedding stand out as a really unique experience for your guests. We can come to your wedding and set up and give everybody permanent jewelry. Maybe you have a special charm that's engraved just for your wedding. Maybe it's just the colors of the wedding that you want to include as a charm. So it's a new service that we're offering, coming to your event or your private party to offer permanent jewelry. And we're booking up for that too. So come give us a call, check it out online first. You can book your event directly online. I'm pretty sure that page went up. If it didn't, we'll make sure that it's up. And and I hope to see you guys soon. So for now, I'm signing off, and I'll see you all later.